Moonlight by Guy De Maupassant, read by Rajesh Natamsha. His warlike name well suited the Abbe Marignan. He was tall, thin priest, full of zeal, his soul always exalted but just. All his beliefs were fixed, they never wavered. He sincerely believed that he understood his God, entered into his place, his wishes, his intentions. As he strode down the aisle of his little county church, sometimes a question would take shape in his mind. Now, why has God done that? He would seek the answer stubbornly, putting himself in God's place. Would he nearly always found it? He was not the one of those who murmur with the air of pure humility. "Oh Lord, your designs are impenetrable," he would say to himself. "I am the servant of God, and if I don't know them, I should divine them." Everything in nature seemed to him created with an absolute and admirable logic. The why and the because always balance out. Dawn existed to make waking up pleasure, days to ripen the crops, rains to water them, evening to prepare for slumber, and the night was dark for sleeping. The four seasons were perfectly fitted to all the needs of agriculture, and it would never have occurred to the priest to suspect that nature has no intention at all, and that, on the contrary, everything he bowed to the hard necessities of time, climates, and matter itself. But he hated women. He hated them unconsciously and despised them by instinct. He often repeated the words of Christ, "Women, what have I to do with thee?" And he added, You would think that not even the God himself was happy with that particular piece of work. Women for him was precisely that child 12 times unclean of whom the poet speaks. She was the tempest who had ensnared the first man, who still continued her damnable word, a weak creature, dangerous, curiously disturbing. And even the more than her devilish body, he hated her loving soul. He had often felt the yearning affection of women, and even though he knew himself invulnerable, he was exasperated by his need to love which always trembled in him. God, in his opinion, made women only to tempt man and test him. Thus, man should approach her with great care, ever fearful for traps. She was, in fact, even shaped like a trap, with the arms extended and lips parted for a man. He was indulgent any of noons, made inoffensively by their vows, and he treated even them severely, because he felt stirring in the depths of their fitter heart those hearts so humble that eternal yearning which still sought out him, even though he was priest. He felt in their gaze more steep in pity that of the monks, in their religious ecstasy trained with sex, in the transport of love for Christ, which infuriated him because it was woman's love, fleshly love. He felt it, he wicked yearning, even their dulcity, in the sweetness of their voices in talking to him, in their lower eyes, in their submissive tears when he rebuked them rudely. He shook out his soutane on leaving the gates of covenant and stood quickly away as though fleeing from danger. He had a niece who lived with his mother, a little house nearby. he was determined to make her sister of charity. She was pretty, light-hearted and impish. When the abbé preached, she laughed, and when he got angry at her, she kissed him eagerly, clasping him to her heart while he tried instinctively to escape this embrace, which nevertheless gave him a taste of sweet happiness, waking deep within him those paternal impulses which slumber in every man. Often he spoke to her of his God, while walking beside her along country lanes. She scarcely listened and but looked at the sky, the grass, the flowers, with the lively joy which soared in her eyes. Sometimes she leaped to catch some flying things and brought it back to him, crying, "Look, uncle, how pretty it is! I want to pet it." And these impulses to pet bugs or nuzzle lilac blossom disturbed, annoyed and sickened their prey, would discern in it that ineradicable yearning which always springs up in the female heart. Then it happened that one day the sacristan's wife, who kept house for the Abbé Marignan, cautiously told him that his niece had a lover. The news shocked him terribly, and he stopped, choking with his face full of soap. He was busy shaving. When he recovered so that he could think of speak, he shouted, "Is that true? Are you lying merrily?" But the good woman put her hand on her heart. "May the God, Lord, strike me dead if I'm lying. May me cure," she goes out every night. "I tell you, as soon as your sister in bed, they meet down by the river. You only go to and wash them between 10 and midnight." He stopped scraping his chin and started walking up down violently, as he always did his hours of solemn meditation. When he tried to finish shaving, he cut himself 3 times between the nose and the ear. All day he was silent, sullen with indignation and rage. To his fury as a priest confronted by love and invincible was added the exasperation of strict father, of guardians, of confessor, fool, cheated, tricked by a child. He shared that self-centered feeling of suffocation experienced by parents whose daughter tells him she has, without them and despite them, chosen by a husband. After dinner, he tried to read a bit, but he could not get into it. He got more and more exasperated. When 10 o'clock struck, he too got more and more exasperated. A formidable oak control he always used then when making his evening rounds to visit and seek. Then he smiled as he looked at his big club, wielding it about fiercely in his great countryman fist. Then suddenly he raised it and, gritting his teeth, brought it down on a chair, knocking its splinter back to the floor. He opened the door to go out. He stopped on the sill, surprised by the splendor of moonlight such as he had rarely seen. And endowed as he was with the exalted spirit such as those poetical dreamers the fathers of church might have had, he was immediately distracted, moved by the glorious, serene beauty of the pale night. In his little garden, all bathed in the soft light, he ordered ranks of his fruit trees traced on the path, the shadow of their slender limbs lightly veiled with foliage, while the giant honeysuckle clinging to the wall of the house exhale a delicious sugary breath that floated through the calm, clear air like a ghostly perfume. He began to breathe deeply, drinking air and drunk a drink's wine. He took a few slow, dreaming, wandering steps, almost forgetting his knives. When he reached the open country, he stopped to contemplate the fields, all flooded with the tender light, bathed in the delicate and languid charm that calm nights have. Incessantly the frogs gave out their short metallic note, distant light glasses sprinkling dream. Not thought blended their unstrung tune, a rapid throbbing music made for kisses with the enchantment of the moonlight. The abbey pressed on, losing heart, though he could not tell why. He felt feeble, suddenly drained. He wanted to sit down, to stay there, to contemplate, to admire God, his handiwork. Below, following the undulations of the little river, a tall line of poplar would like to snag, fine mist, white vapor which the moonbeams pierced and tuned to glowing sliver hung around and above the banks, wrapping the whole tortuous watercolors in the shore to delicate and transparent gauze. The priest halted again, struck to the depths of his soul by an irresistible wave of yearning. And a doubt, a vague disturbance come over him. He sensed within himself another of those questions he sometimes posed. Why God had done this, since the night intended for sleep, for unconscious, for response, for oblivion? Why make it more charming than the day, sweeter than the dawn or evening? And why the slow and seductive moon, which is more poetic than the sun and seems intended by its delicacy to illuminate things too fragile and mysterious for daylight? Why should it come to make the shadows so transparent? Why should the loveliest of songbirds not to go sleep with the others but linger on to sing in the disturbing shade? Why this half-veil thrown over the wall? Why this thrill in the heart, this string of the soul, this languor of the flesh? Why this display of delights in the men never see, since they are asleep in their beds? For whom was it intended? This sublime spectacle, this flood of poetry poured from the sky over the earth. And the abbé found no answer. But then, down below, on the edge of the field, under the vault of trees drenched with glowing mist, two shadows appeared, walking side by side. The man, taller, held neck of his lover and sometimes kissed her forehead. Their sudden appearance brought the still countryside to life. It enfolded the young lovers like a setting divinely made for them. They seemed the pair, a single being, the being for whom this calm and silent night was intended. And they moved toward the priest like a living answer, the answer to his questions flung back by his master. He stood still, his heart pounding in confusion. He felt as if he were looking at the biblical scene, like the love of Ruth and Boaz, like the accomplishment of the will of God as presented in one of those great scenes of Holy Scripture. In his head echoed verses of Song of Songs, passionate cries, the calls of flames, and the all-ardent poetry of the poem, seized with this passionate yearning. And he said to himself, perhaps God has made such nights to veil the loves of men with ideal beauty. He said to himself, perhaps God has made such lies to veil the loves of men with the ideal beauty. He reconciled before the couple who kept walking arm in arm. It was certainly his nice, but he asked himself now, if he was not on the verge of disobeying God, must not God permit love, since he lavished upon it such visible splendor? And he fled, distraught, almost ashamed, as if he had entered a temple where he had no right to be.